You know, Fox News and the right wing will have you believe that these American values are something out of the Communist Manifesto. That we believe these things because we went to college and read them in a book somewhere. But let me tell you, Fox News, I don't believe these things. I don't believe in healthcare, labor, and human dignity because I'm a Marxist. I believe it because I was a waitress. Because I scrubbed toilets with my mom to go to school. Because I've worked double shifts to keep the lights on. And because on my worst day, I know what it feels like to feel left behind. And I know that we don't have to live like this anymore, Las Vegas. We deserve better than this, Las Vegas.
If there is one thing that Donald Trump is most afraid of, it's appearing weak. And it's probably because he is not just mentally, but in his actual authority as president, which gets diminished every day. He becomes more unpopular, and every day more judicial rulings are handed down, letting Donald Trump know that, hey, you can't just override checks and balances, but one place that Donald Trump is trying to appear strong is his threats against Democratic governors, which we just saw after Donald Trump was confronted to his face by the governor of Maine, and now he is losing his mind, and we are going to cover all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we can get into Donald Trump getting confronted and the scary threat that he has issued now. Because of that, I want to get some context on how this all started with a clip of Trump right here.
And I saw this morning where one of them is pretty well known, one is arguing, fighting like crazy over men being able to play in women's sports. I said, gee, I thought that was tried. I thought that was about a 95, I think it's a 95% issue. But in a way, I want them to keep doing it because I don't think they can win a race. And I tell the Republicans, I said, don't bring that subject up because there's no election right now. But about a week before the election, bring it up because you can't lose.
Republicans know that they are becoming more and more unpopular on their most important issues, that they made the biggest campaign promises on every single day. The economy is tanking. Donald Trump's mass deportation plan is, thank God, failing, and also making lots of news for how illegal and immoral it is. Voters are pissed off with Donald Trump, and so he is trying to lean on what he sees as the best crutch possible, which is just being blatantly transphobic. And that is exactly how we got this confrontation between Donald Trump and Maine's Governor Janet Mills, which happened just a bit ago, but it's resurfacing because of the threat that now Donald Trump is sending back at Mills. So before we get into that, of course, we have to check out that confrontation.
We need people in the country, but they have to come in legally. 2 weeks ago, I signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. Many Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you continue because you'll never win another race. And it's just crazy. If you look at what happened with the boxing, if you look at what happened with the weightlifting numbers, where a record that hadn't been broken for 19 years got shattered. But, you know, they put up an eighth of an ounce here, an eighth of an ounce there, and it's 218 pounds or whatever, a lot. And hadn't been broken in 19 years. And then guy walks up who transitioned. He transitioned, and he knocked out that record by about 100 pounds. That will be a record not going to be broken again in a long. So we put a ban on it, and to protect women. I mean, the women, if you watch the Olympics, you had two transitioned people that were fighting in the women's boxing. They have women's boxing category. And if you saw that, it was brutal. What happened to the Italian woman was a really good boxer. After one punch, she said, no more. I've never been hit. It was a left. It was not even it was just a left jab. She got hit so hard, she said, I can't do it. They forced her to go out. No, go out again. You'll do it. Goes out again, gets hit again. No, that's it. She didn't want to die, and it's crazy, but the NCAA has complied immediately, by the way, that's good. But I understand Maine Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
Down here,
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state has a responsibility to comply with Title IX. They have an obligation, a legal obligation, and we'll be enforcing aggressively, and we're going to be protecting our citizens. We're going to protect. So just to end this.
Now, obviously, that was incredibly brave. That was a powerful clip. That was a big day for fire-up Democrats to stand up to Donald Trump. But unfortunately, that did not hold for too long because Maine has now essentially bent the knee to Donald Trump. But even with that happening, he is still not finished threatening its governor. And we see more of that right here. Trump threatens DEM governor as part of demand for a full-throated apology, seemingly out of nowhere. Donald Trump renewed his war with the governor of Maine, who stood up to him at the White House luncheon over a month ago in late November. The president berated Governor Janet Mills in front of reporters when he insisted she follow his directive on banning trans youth athletes by telling her, well, we are the federal law. You better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. After he added, and by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. She calmly shot back. We'll see you in court on Saturday morning. The still smartening Trump took to Truth Social to complain that he is yet to receive an apology. Well, the state of Maine has apologized for their governor's strong but totally incorrect statement about men playing in women's sports. Well, at the White House Governor's Conference, we have not heard from the governor herself, and she is the one that matters in such cases. He then added, therefore we need a full-throated apology from the governor herself, and a statement that she will never make such an unlawful challenge to the federal government again before this case can be settled. I'm sure she will able to do that quite easily. Thank you again for your attention to the matter and make America great again. So Maine is now complying with what Donald Trump wants, but because he hasn't gotten an apology, what he's now threatening to take away their funding again. This is why I continue to say, Democrats, please, do not fall in line. Please do not capitulate. Please do not bend the knee. It will never be enough. You can never satisfy him. Chuck Schumer, after you gave in, Donald Trump was mocking you. This was not seen as some act of good faith, Republicans, and didn't go well. Chuck, I guess, maybe next time we'll throw you a couple of concessions. No, they never will. So you always have to fight back. I better not see an apology out of Janet Mills, or I'm going to be pretty upset because we know what will come after it, more and more demands as Donald Trump tries to embarrass us. But this is also about the distraction that Donald Trump needs with this issue just being blatantly transphobic. And thankfully, Democrats are not running away as we've seen in the past because both AOC and John O.A., who announced his re-election campaign today, some clips that we're going to check out called out Donald Trump and his transphobia.
Because Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security were promises that we as a people have made to each other about the kind of country we are and the kind of society we want to live in. And I don't know about you, Arizona, but I want to live in an America that guarantees health care to every person. I want to live in an America that has a living wage for every person. I want to live in America where you have free speech to express yourself and not be afraid of getting put on a list or deported. But these promises that we've made, they are not promises from politicians to the people, or they're not charity from billionaires to everyday Americans. They are promises we have made to each other. Neighbor to neighbor, friend to friend, teacher to student, family member to family member. That we want to live in a society that is not depraved, not every person for themselves, but all of us standing together. This is the promise that we make to each other as Americans.
I do not want to see Democrats run away from this issue. You may be thinking that it's unpopular with some folks, that maybe we're on the wrong side of it. First of all, I completely disagree with that. I will always stand up for people's human rights, and I'm not going to allow the federal government or state governments to attack 1 or 2 or 3 trans kids in middle school and high school who just want to play sports with their friends. It's disgusting. Kids should be allowed to be kids. And if they want to play on the soccer team, let them. We don't need them to have their pants checked before the game because some Republican governor wants to make some weird statement, or because Donald Trump knows he's got to distract. We should be on the right side of this issue. But more than anything, if we run away from it, what does that say about Democrats if we're not able to or willing to fight for what we believe or try to change people's minds? I played a clip for y'all just the other week of a guy, an older man, going to a town hall in which he was going to oppose one of these bills, and he had his mind changed. We can change people's minds. We have to fight back. But again, this is just a distraction by Donald Trump, and it's important to focus that in how we talk about it, which is what AOC did, calling out Donald Trump's abandonment of the working class right here.
For all the big talk that Republicans and the Trump administration like to flap about working people, if you actually listen carefully, every once in a while they let the mask slip about what they actually think about us. Just last week, President Trump's lawyer, her name is Alina Habba, she went on television, and when she actually had to be faced with explaining her job, and when she actually had to be faced with doing her job, this is what she had to say. Quote, what intellectual thought? And she was asked about me. Quote, what intellectual thought? You were in a bar. You were in a bar, AOC, and not to have a drink, but to serve one. And I want you all to understand, I don't care what this woman says about me, but But I want you to understand that she isn't just talking about me here. She's talking about you. She's talking about all of us. Because the entire job of the president's lawyer is to speak for him. Trump hired her to speak for him. So imagine what it means for our country that the president's own lawyer cannot even conceive of a working class person being intelligent simply because of the job that they have. This woman could not even recognize the American dream if it was fed to her on a silver spoon. But understand that this kind of disdain for working people by the most powerful people in this country doesn't just come from not being raised right. It's a shorthand for Elon Musk and Donald Trump's entire political agenda and a certain ugly kind of politics, lying to and screwing over working people so that they can steal from our health care and Social Security and veterans care to pay for tax cuts for the wealthiest and bailouts for their crypto billionaire friends. There's a word for this. Corruption.
It is always a distraction, so let's point that out and let's refocus people on all the failures of the Trump administration and the very clear betrayal of all those promises that he made. That's what we're going to be doing on this show. And if you want to support that, As always, you can hit that subscribe button, you can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.